everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Hi, Laureen. Laureen Quick is a writer, speaker, and guide for women navigating life transitions after 50. Through her coaching, workshops, podcast conversations, and community spaces, she helps women reconnect with themselves during seasons of change, uncertainty, and reinvention. She's known for her reflective and deeply human approach to conversations around identity, resilience, self trust, relationships, and what it really means to begin a new chapter in midlife. Laureen is the creator of Your Next Chapter, host of the Unscripted and Unstoppable podcast, and founder of the Next Chapter Summit, a gathering created to support women 50 plus through healing, reinvention, and self rediscovery. Laureen, is that about right?
It sounds wonderful. Thank you,
Thank you. And I'm so excited.
Green.
I'm excited to have you here today, and you have a lot of good stuff going on. So I want every woman in the world to hear you and know about all the things that you create to support them.
Sarah, thank you so much for having me. I am delighted to be here and always love talking with you.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Speaking
Okay.
just the truth, girl.
Thank you. That's a very impressive bio. I mean, very, very neat. But I have a question. And my first question for you is, who are you? Who is Laureen Quick?
Well, I could name off all the roles I play, but that's just part of it. That's a very small part of who we are in my belief system. I am someone who is and has always been committed to being and becoming for myself and for other women, other people as well. No matter what I have done in my life, I am driven to encourage myself and others to be who we are and also be open to who we're becoming, to seek out and fulfill our potential. So that is a perfect way to describe who I am on all levels of my life. And I happen to do a lot of different things within that frame, but that is who I am, a woman who is passionate about being and becoming.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You describe yourself as a threshold guide or coach. I'd love for you to explain what that means in your own words.
I call myself a threshold guide because I predominantly work with women in their 50s and beyond who are in thresholds. I have come to understand, I have walked through many thresholds in my life, but the biggest thresholds have been when I turned 60, actually, for me. And really, if truth be told, I was going through them in my 50s. I just didn't realize until I was 60 that I was going through a huge process of change, of reinventing myself. It's actually the wrong word, because it wasn't that I was not already who I am. It was that I got clearer about who I am, what I want, and how I want to be in this world. So as I did that for myself, I also talked to my friends and found out that all of us in this age range were going through these big transitions, and we thought we were alone. We thought, oh my gosh, we're all by ourselves going through this, when in fact, maybe not all of us, but I would say 99.9% of women in their 50s and 60s go through a huge threshold that when they come out the other side, they define themselves differently. They think of themselves differently, and they behave differently. And that's the focus of the work I do, Sarah. It's really around that time in our lives.
Mm-hmm. You work with women navigating life transitions after 50. What was happening in your own life that first made you realize women in this season needed a different kind of support and conversation? You were just talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, I woke up on my 60th birthday and I thought, someday someday I'm going to go to Machu Picchu. And then it occurred to me that at 60, I'd live more years than I had left to live. It was highly unlikely I was going to be 120. And it dawned on me at that moment in a really deep and I think profound way that if I'm going to do these things that I've been saying someday I'm going to do, I better shut up, stop talking about it, and just start doing it. Out of that, for me, evolved a focus on this work with other women. We don't have, in my opinion, we don't have another second to waste. We don't need to be dreaming about what's going to happen in the future. We need to be making that happen right now, because we don't know. Well, actually, nobody knows how long we have left on this earth. But for me, living here, being here is like one of the most joyous things that could ever happen to a being. And I don't want to waste a second of it. Not 1 second.
Good. I agree. You use words like reinvention, self reclamation, and becoming, which I know many midlife women deeply relate to. But what do you think women are really searching for during these transitions? Just beyond this surface level that everybody talks about.
Mhm. This will sound really strange because it's kind of boring, but I think we're looking for safety. And it also might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. What I have come to understand is we want to feel safe. We want to feel safe enough to be who we are. We want to feel safe enough to go out into the world and express ourselves fully and realize our potential. And most of our lives, we have looked to other people or other things to feel safe. We haven't learned, most of us, some of us figured it out early on. Most of us haven't learned that we feel safe when we are able to help ourselves feel safe, that it's our job to feel safe by being confident and believing in ourselves and trusting that we make good decisions, and that we can be and become all the things we want in our lives. It is safe for us to do that. So at a
Yeah,
deep level, I think truly we want to feel safe to be who we are, all of us.
that's a great insight, actually. Yeah, that's not the first thing that usually comes to mind or that we think about, right?
Hmm.
We need to
Well,
see.
to feel safe, you really have to trust yourself, right? And most of us, we were taught to believe other people. They know what's going on. The doctor knows, that my spouse knows, the teacher knows. So we put a lot of our trust into that person saying, this is the way it is. This is how it works. Yes, you can do it. When in the end, it really is up to us. And it's hard to look in the mirror and realize that, but that's the truth. We have to begin to trust ourselves enough, forgive ourselves enough if there's things to be forgiven, to allow ourselves to be and become.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your next chapter summit. It feels very different from a traditional success event, right? So, what inspired you to create it, and what kind of experience do you hope women walk away with after attending it? And let me load this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is your inner terrain method in there somewhere, or is it a different thing?
They're combined. And I'll start by saying I wanted to create an event I wanted to go to.
Mm, good.
And, I can fill my head up with all kinds of information. And in fact, there's a lot of information at my fingertips on my computer. And so it's not really about information. We already know a lot already. It is about an experience that shifts you from thinking about your possibilities and your potential to actually taking steps forward to realize that potential. So the summit is designed as a series of conversations. So the guests that will be speaking on the summit actually engage with me in conversations, followed by guest question and answer. So it's a very thoughtful process. And it's not about any kind of pitching. It's not like, oh, here are my 3 steps to time management, and yes, you should book this with me because I can I can sell you on this, right? Or help you move in that direction. So it's very conversation oriented. Our speakers do gift the audience some sort of giveaway just so that they can get to know them better. And if it's aligned with who you are and you want to work with someone, you are free to connect with them. There are always opportunities for you to do that. But it really is a conversation, and that conversation is designed to shift you. And how that shift occurs really works around this whole idea of the emotional terrain, which has become the foundation of the work that I do. So if we think about navigating life, we're really good about navigating the external world. I mean, the phone has made it really easy for us to navigate to wherever it is we need to go. And we know how to manage our families and manage our business and manage our whatever it is that we handle day to day. What we're not so skilled at is the navigation of our emotions. And so in my work, I've created this terrain. And so there's this space inside us, and there are four key points. There's descent, shedding, reclaiming, and then radiance. And like any map that you have, you can't get somewhere if you don't know where you are. So the work I do is to help women understand where they're at in this emotional terrain, be able to assess themselves. And the thing about this terrain, we move around all the time. So one minute we could be in shedding, and then something happens in our lives and we find ourselves in reclaiming, or we might be in descent. So it becomes learning how to assess, okay, where am I at in the terrain? And then what strategies are most appropriate for me in this moment to move me forward to my goals, to my vision, to my dreams. And the summit is designed around that. We spend the first night, we have a night evening session called Threshold, that we just begin to explore what it's like to be in a threshold. Then day one, we spend our energy and time in descent. On day two, we move into shedding. And on day three, we spend time both in reclaiming and in radiance. So it's integrated, and we'll be talking about that as we go through the summit. Does that help?
It does help, yes. That is pretty cool to have a whole system where you take women from, wherever they are. They don't necessarily need to be somewhere for you to work with them or for you to take them through the path. Like sometimes, oh, I help women who are specifically here, but what I'm understanding is that it's a whole, and no matter where that woman is, you
Within,
can
within
walk
the,
her
yeah.
through it.
Yes, and the reality is, I mean, this happened to me when I was in my 20s. I didn't have language for it, right? It's that we have emotions, and they do drive our thoughts, and they drive our behavior. And they're all interconnected. But if we're not skilled at this in understanding even where we're at, let alone what to do with it, then we just go in circles, and we get sometimes more and more frustrated than we need to be.
Absolutely. And I do agree. People are not coming to you or to me or to a coach or to look for information. They're simply not. I mean, information is everywhere. Everywhere. They need the connection, they need the community, they need the conversations, they need to be in spaces where all of that really matters to them, all the topics that they want to talk about, where they are being discussed, I feel.
Yes. And Sara, you touch on something that's absolutely critical for women in their 50s, 60s, 70s. We need community. We need friends. We thrive, and we actually can facilitate a more accelerate is not the right word, just simply a smoother, faster, easier transition if we are doing that with other women who understand us, who support us, and who also give us ideas. We learn
Yeah,
from each other. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I
It is
love
critical.
I love that. Many women in midlife feel lost between who they used to be and who they are becoming. How do you help them reconnect with themselves when they no longer recognize their old identity?
I think the biggest thing I work with initially when I start working with a client is learning to pause. So taking time out of your day just to stop, even if it's for 30 seconds, breathe and connect with who you are this moment right now. Paying attention maybe first to your actual body, but eventually to your feelings and your mind, what your thoughts. So you start to hear this little voice in you that has actually been there all your life, but you've not listened to it. You've drowned it out with all the busyness, all of the things to do and the people to see. You start to listen to this voice. This voice is so wise. It is your soul, it's your essence, it's God, it's whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter to me, but it's there. And most of us have been not listening to it for many, many years. So you begin to do that and you start the path of reconnection and you begin an exploration of self-discovery, which is amazing. It is amazing because every woman on this planet, here I am here to tell you, is incredibly beautiful, talented, graceful, brilliant. They just have buried all of that. And the idea here is to start digging all the dirt off and beginning to reconnect with yourself, who you've been all along.
So it doesn't necessarily go through a reinvention of who you are. It's also, and maybe more so, reconnecting with who you used to be or who you really are, but you never even made the connection.
Bingo. Yes, that is it right there. It's realizing now is the time. You don't have years and years. You don't have 15 decades left, or how many ever decades you thought you might have. Now is the time to actually look in the mirror and meet that woman because I'm telling you, she is brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant. And what a waste of a life never to have met her, never to have loved her, never to have fully appreciated who she is. Yes. We
Wow.
it's not this linear process where we climb stairs and we suddenly hit the mountain and we're there. It is it is a process of self-discovery. It is in some ways it's a love story.
Yeah, I can see that. And I imagine it's really hard also. It can be also very hard.
Well, it is. I think because we're really afraid of what we might see. We are also learn through this process not to judge so much. We are very judgmental,
Yes.
very critical people. We just are. It seems to be in our nature. We assess and we judge. We assess and we judge. And one of the things you learn to do as you start to listen to your heart is you start to judge less and you give more grace to yourself and to other people as well.
Right.
Yeah.
You speak a lot about self trust and inner guidance. Why do you think so many women disconnect from their own inner compass over the years? And how can they begin rebuilding that relationship with themselves?
I think a lot of things happen in our childhood that we get the message that we're not good enough,
Hmm.
or at least we hear the message we are not good enough. And what I've learned is we see what we look for. So if I grow up being taught I'm not quite good enough, or I have to be a certain way to be loved and approved, then I start seeking that out. So I'll give you an example. Growing up, my parents, I know, love me deeply. I know they did. But as a child, what I saw was if I got good grades, my parents recognized me. I was one of four kids. My mother was, crazy busy trying to manage a household and her children and her marriage and her life. So I got attention when I performed well. So I began to equate love with performance. And then I went out into the work world, and guess what? I got attention when I did really great in my job. And so I felt wanted and valued. And so in my mind, I connected performance to love and began to seek situations where I could be loved by me performing. But that's not really why people love you. people love you for who you are. But I was kind of missing that message somewhere in my early adulthood. And it has taken me the last 6 years of my life to realize I am lovable just for who I am. It doesn't matter about my performance, quote unquote. So that's one of the things we learn as we begin to reflect back on our life is what things became limiting beliefs, what things became patterns in our lives that have led us astray from the truth of who we are. And it is sometimes it is really hard to look at ourselves. It's scary, but you know what? It's just one little thing. It's just one little, I mean, it took me forever to figure all that out. And I was scared to death trying to, what's wrong with me? Why can't I feel like people love me for who I am? Then I begin to work with it and it's like, okay, I'm getting it now. I'm getting it now. People do love me for who I am. I can feel safe in the relationships that I have because it's not dependent on whether I did this or didn't do that or did something, you know? It's hard. It's hard work. I'm not going to lie to you. Being self-reflective, being honest with yourself is very challenging work, but it is so rewarding because it leads you to a place where a lot of your emotional energy is spent in that reclaiming yourself and that radiance. And when you feel that radiance is not like this thing where you're glowing, although you might glow. Radiance is when you feel fully aligned with who you are, what you think, how you feel, and what you do. That is radiance. Most of us don't feel that way very often. But
No, I was gonna
what,
say,
what,
well,
what if half of your life, half of your day could be spent in that place? Oh my gosh, you would have no self-doubt. You would feel confident. You would feel strong. You would feel like you knew what you were doing and you were happy to be there.
yeah. You know, I've I've started reconnecting with my um I call it inner wisdom. I don't know. I call it, my intuition, my when I turned 50. Because before then, I was always told, you do this because that's the way we do it. Everybody knows best than you because they're older than you, they know best. So I was never taught to trust myself or to trust my intuition. That was not a thing. My family did not believe in intuition. And
Girlfriend,
so
you
it,
are not
it's hard.
alone. Yeah,
Sorry.
you are not alone.
Yes, but and that's the beauty of these conversations that we're having, and the beauty of your summit is that these conversations are happening now, and we become aware of them, and we can have them, because even with my friends, for the most part, they don't want to know. They're not there yet. They're fine. Everything is fine. It's the way it is. What else you want? Those kind of. And so it's hard. Not everybody understands when a woman is going through that, even sometimes other women.
Well,
So it can be lonely.
we don't all go through it at the same time, and it's not related necessarily to age. So, yeah, and so you might think you're the only one because everyone else looks like they're just doing fine. But one day you just wake up and you feel disconnected. Like things are just not quite right. And you can't even name it. But it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And especially I think the more you ignore it, the worse it gets. It just gets louder and louder and louder until finally at some point
You have to pay attention.
you do. And if that's 10% of the population, I am so happy I'm in that group.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
I get it.
Okay. If a woman listening today feels stuck, exhausted, or longing for a new chapter but doesn't know where to begin, what would you want her to hear right now?
I would want her to practice the pause. This will sound a little crazy. Recently, I went on a trip with my daughter and her husband, and we were to leave. I was in Austin, Texas, where they were. sleeping the night in their apartment. We wake up the next morning. We're supposed to leave at 8 o'clock. And so I am like packed. I'm ready to go. We're going to get in the car and we're going to drive. My daughter comes out of the bedroom and she says, well, we didn't really sleep well last night. So we're going to delay this for about half an hour. Well, the half an hour turned into 45 minutes. There was a time in my life when that would have been extraordinarily frustrating. But that trip, I told myself, I am going to practice the pause every single day of this trip. So I said to myself, Laureen, this is your first pause. Let's take it. And I sat down in their living room and I wrote poetry. For 45 minutes, I wrote poetry. They were ready to go and they're like, okay, mom, let's leave. And I was like, oh, I have to put my shoes back on. Just a minute. So they had to wait a few minutes for me. But I spent 45 minutes in a pause where I ended up writing a really great piece of poetry. And I would not have done that had I been insisting that we were supposed to leave at 8 o'clock. Why aren't you ready? Let me help you. That kind of control thing. So, and then throughout that trip, I actually took pauses. I probably took 6 or 7 pauses every day. And I wrote about the pauses as I took them. And I had more fun on that trip and was more spontaneous than I have ever been on a trip because I let go of trying to control it all. And I spent more time just being with beautiful, wonderful me. So my message, I always have a long answer to even a short question. My answer would be practice the pause.
I like the pause. So, do we practice it every time that something is not going the way we were expecting it to go, or
You
when do
can,
we practice?
yes, you can. That's a great time to practice it. But it's really interesting. You could practice it when everything's going great too. For me, the pause, is that space between points. And that pause is an incredibly creative space. But most of us rush right through it. We don't want to pause. We're not pausing for anything. We got something else we got to do. So learning to actually sit in the pause and do nothing and see what shows up. Pay attention to the squirrel that's out on the fence chewing its nuts or whatever. Or notice the flower that you've never noticed before, but it must have been there because it's now in full bloom. How did that happen? Look for it. And the second thing I would say is look for beauty. Look for the beauty in your life, because that is a whole nother thing that I've learned we have pretty much forgotten about. The noticing of beauty in our lives and appreciation for it and gratitude that we get. We live such a beautiful existence. We truly do. So 2 things: take the pause, focus on beauty.
I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few rapid fire questions for you,
Okay.
but before, tell us about the summit. When is it happening? How can we register? What's going on?
So the summit is July 9th through the 12th. It's the evening of the 9th for a couple of hours, and then the 10th, 11th, and 12th. It's in the mornings in Boise time, in Mountain Time. And there is a link that I will have shared with you, so you can share that in the show
Yes.
notes, that will give you all the information you need to know about the summit and a way to click a link and register. It's free for women to attend. So I would love to have anyone anywhere join us. If you are not able to sit in on every session, that's okay. If you can't make any of it, still register, because we will provide replay links for our guests who are registered, so they get a chance to connect and see what the conversation was all about. Beyond that, if you have any doubts, just register. Just register and come. Last summit we did, I do them twice a year, one in January, one in July. Last summit we had women come in and out. So sometimes they would be there for an hour and then they'd come back the next day and check out for a couple hours what was going on. And then other times they just never showed, but they got the replays. And this is your experience. So you can do it any way you want, any way you want.
I was there. It was a beautiful
Sure.
summit, and I'm looking forward to being there this time around as well, even if not the whole time, whatever I can, because I truly believe that these conversations need to happen, and the more we listen to them, the more open we are to them, but also we sometimes don't know we need these conversations.
Yes. We don't realize it. And also being in a space where other women are sharing as well. And who
Yeah,
knows, you might even make a new friend.
exactly. Love that. Okay, rapid fire. Here we go. A word that defines this season of your life.
Brilliance.
A book or quote that's shaped you.
Gosh, there's so many books. Oh, that one's a hard one. Ah, think. You're gonna have to come back to that one. Give me a second.
Something simple, something simple that makes you feel grounded.
Putting on lipstick.
Nice. What does self-care look like for you right now?
Getting a great night sleep. I sleep about 9 to 10 hours a night, and I love my bed. And I love to sleep, and I sleep with my dog Dixie. Yes, that's my happy place. So sleeping.
Good. A book or quote that has shaped you.
All right, a book or quote that has shaped me. There is a book called Georgia, and it's a fiction book. I don't recall the author's name. I'm sorry. About Georgia O'Keeffe and her relationship with her. Eventually, he became her husband, but beyond that, it's also her relationship with art and herself. And that was and is, in my mind, an incredible story and very inspiring. So it's Georgia, and it will be about Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist. And I highly recommend it to any woman.
Awesome. Laureen, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you and I appreciate you being here. And before you go, tell us where can people connect with you, even though I will have the links. Let us know.
I am very active on Facebook as well as LinkedIn, so you can always find me there. And you'll share also, I think, my email address and all the other links that I have. I would love to connect and explore how we can collaborate, how we can support one another in this process we call life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Sarah. This has been delightful.
Thank you.